here to present my research project. I'm in my first year of the PhD, so this is like, I don't have any data, so this is like my research. Mexico has a very large potential in natural resources and renewable energies. In terms of geothermal, Mexico has one of the largest geothermal installed capacity power, just behind New Zealand and Italy. Renewable energies offers great potential for fostering social and economic development. So in that sense, technology and innovation will play a key role in the development of Mexico's renewable energy potential. The direct uses of geothermal energy have been applied since a lot of years, like dates back 1,000 years ago when people used hot springs as bathing. And today hot springs are still used for like spas, but then are so many other uses for direct geothermal capacities like aquaculture, greenhouse heating, food processing like drying crops, pasteurization, and so many others like you can see in the slide. We want to analyze how the direct uses and the technologies associated with the direct uses are developed. So in order to generate a Mexican perspective, we are using the technological innovation system function approach. And we are trying to respond how the functions of the technological innovation system determine the development and diffusion of environmental technologies in direct uses of geothermal energy. The technological innovation function approach have conducted many studies in developed countries, but in order to construct a Mexican approach, we have to consider that countries such as Mexico, like is a developing country, have a different context, and we have to take that in account. And we have to take in account the characteristics of the institutions related to the innovation process, the socioeconomic context and the environment and the existing dynamics within the country, because in Mexico, the innovation is like isolated. The agents don't have a lot of communication. The aim of my research is determine how the functions of the technological innovation system have participated as a driver or as a barrier in the generation and diffusion of environmental technologies. We are seeking to improve the understanding of the functions involved in the development and diffusion, and then identify the key challenges that policymakers are facing in the energy transition, because you must know that in Mexico we are with an energy reform that now opens the market to private players. So now the policymakers are facing some challenges because we have like a centralized approach. The research method that I am proposing is a mixed methodological design. The first part will be analyze the programs, laws, all the fundings that we are having to promote the energy transition. And then with the topic modeling, they're gonna be analyzing the identification of keywords that support the structure of these documents, of the legal framework related to renewable energy. Then with text mining of the several documents, we can establish the frequency of the most used words that make relevance to themes related to energy technology, development, diffusion of technology, geothermal energy, and then establish correlations between the words and generate a model main theme. This will allow us to generate a picture of the context in which environmental technologies are conceived and are developed and diffused. The second part of my research is to study cases focused on projects developed by the Mexican Center for Innovation in Geothermal Energy. In recent years, this center has given an impetus on research and the relation between academia and industry. The projects that I am studying are located in 2 different areas of Mexico, one in the center and one in the north. The center one has a context of poverty, and the north one is like a developing state. So the first one is a design and development and detailed characterization of a food dehydration system with the quality required by the industry, with residual heat from geothermal fields. And the second one is a feasibility analysis and development of a prototype demonstration project of the use of geothermal energy for climate control of greenhouses. The analysis of this project will allow me to know how are the dynamics of the agent in the reality, not in the theory. The policy relevance and knowledge transfer potential of this thesis will be generating a discussion on how these functions converge or diverge for the development and diffusion of environmental technologies, and then analyzing the level of development of the relevant functions in the Mexican context, and then giving some recommendations. The policy relevant also is identifying the main contributions made by the relevant agents in the Mexican technological innovation system for the direct uses. Thank you.
Yeah, so great that you make use of it. I think if you are on at the start, I don't know how it's in Mexico, but in the Netherlands we always have to have some theoretical novelty in the PhD. And I think with your approach, you have at least 4 such points that I can think about for your consideration. First of all, the connection of this with transitions. So I have looked into articles that have been published on this application in developing country. There were about 50 of them. I think there was no single one that was using word transition in it. So, which means that there is space to have a lot of discussion. And in our field, Bernard Trufer and Johan Markart, they have written some propositions on how the two relate. I'm not sure this is an interesting way to sort of proceed, but it's at least one of the things to keep in mind. So that's one. Second is the area of application. So as I mentioned, there are 50 articles published, but there's no a review of literature that sort of makes sense of these findings in methodological terms. What does it mean for the functions? Sometimes people say a function is missing because of the context, or So this is a second element. Third element that also Bernard and Johan wrote about is the context. This is really a framework that is being used for understanding diffusion of particular technologies. So it does not make any propositions about the broader process of change. So that's another area that you might want to go into and discuss. And finally, you said that you're going to look at specific projects. This is for technological fields. So how does that go? Are you looking at specific
At the technology.
in these 2 projects?
Yeah.
But then think about generalization of your outcomes from these 2 projects, because usually this analysis are much broader, because they are about understanding the broader innovation system around specific technology, and 2 projects is probably not enough unless you have a specific way of dealing with it and a very specific research question. So these would be my
Thank you.
contributions.
Anyone?
I wonder if you can just clarify a little bit the direct use of geothermal and how that links to other perhaps visions for geothermal that wouldn't be direct. How is there a distinction there?
Because you can use geothermal energy for electricity, but it's very difficult in the Mexican law. So I'm gonna use only the direct uses for local purposes and local industry.
So self-contained,
Yeah,
off-grids, as
Yeah,
it
yeah,
were,
yeah.
sort of. Okay, so yeah, my second question was how does that connect with the existing energy and electricity system? And I guess your answer is not really.
Not really.
Okay, and the is there? So you talked about the energy reform as a sort of an ongoing policy process. Recent. Is there a vision for energy transition in Mexico? I would imagine there is, and what does it look like? And are these kinds of projects visible from that higher national perspective? Do they consider them?
Well, it's supposed to be considered, but we are in the early stages of an energy transition. Is that we are in the first stage, so it's very difficult to see if they're gonna integrate with what we are like exploring here.
So maybe following up from that, you could consider I mean, the current situation is that these uses of geothermal energy are very self-contained, but using again also transition literature, strategic niche management, for instance, these entities, as experience is gathered, as innovation developed, as they become more visible, they can change the way they integrate with existing systems. And so I wonder, this assumption that these are self-contained and that is what geothermal energy is in Mexico, perhaps you want to take a more flexible, more open view to that.
My question is also related to what he's just mentioned. I was wondering from a policy context, I know I've read some literature on Mexico and their long-term plans, and I wanted to know the relationship of your study and sort of its contribution to the overall plan that Mexico has set for itself in the long term. And I understand your study is just going to look at it from as decentralized system and not as, but I would assume it's also part of a bigger plan that Mexico has set for itself. And I'm just grappling how you're going to make the linkages between your study, the policy processes currently going on, the whole long-term plan that Mexico has set itself. And I'm not sure that your study is going to focus on those dynamics and, I'm not sure that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it's a context. It's a context. It's the study that it will find itself in that context. That I think you'll have to take into consideration the long-term plan which Mexico has put up front and the policy process that's currently going on, especially from a sustainability transitions perspective.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Since we have a couple of minutes, may I ask you, and please accept my apologies because I missed that part. What are you processing with the text mining and why are you using this technique?
Because it's a lot of legal framework, a lot of documents that have been developing now with the energy reform. So I want to know what are they planning and how are they planning to do it. So that's why I'm going to use text mining.
Okay. So it's has a very well, you can geolocalize all the information within regions, very small regions, and